9 on the shot. Embiid turns, fires for the win. Joel Embiid and the Sixers take game 3 here in Toronto.
And the crowd is silent. Everybody. As we take a look at the action again. Listen, I wouldn't recommend this,
going away from
but
the
it counts. And it silences everybody in the building. Out of his hand, bucket good.
So still points.
This is nothing but that sports talk. God bless. Good night, Toronto. Courtesy of Joel Embiid's game-winning shot. As I welcome you to this episode of Nothing But That Sports Talk. Rafiq Lewis on. Yes, that is Sam Law on the dial. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Rafiq. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you called the interview that me and my cousin Knox did with Christina and Ari. She was literally behind the scenes filming some of it back when I was doing all the interviews in person, back when it was actually more appropriate to do interviews in person. No COVID, no nothing. Christina was just starting Girls Talk Sports TV. Ari, she wasn't working for Bleacher Report at the time. Man, things have changed almost 4 years later. So, while we're on the subject, why don't you talk about a little bit about how you and the chemistry between yourself and Christina started?
So Christina and I actually have a mutual acquaintance. One of her older sisters. We grew up in a connected communities, kind of, on Long Island. So we knew each other. And I was at an event for a company called Boom Cups. I think they're your 1-800-Liquors now. And we connected there, and we just kind of like instantly just hit it off, and we had similar interests. We were just both like intrigued with media and entertainment. And I have a background in marketing, so she was asking me about a venture that she was gonna actually do. It wasn't actually Girls Talk Sports TV, it was something else that ended up leading to Girls Talk Sports TV. And we just kind of hit it off and have been friends ever since. I couldn't believe when you said 4 years. That's crazy. I can't believe it's been 4 years.
Yeah,
like
4 years
insane.
later, she's covered the WNBA. I'm covered the WNBA. She's been legit covered the WNBA since Ryan for Howard. But but the growth and the entertainment that we put together is just amazing.
Yeah, you guys have all grown so much, and it's kind of been surreal to kind of sitting there and watching that growth and seeing what you've all achieved over the last 4 years. It's actually been really amazing. So shout outs to all of you. Shout out.
And you should check out my WNBA interviews for the past few seasons, including a certain interview that got featured on SportsCenter. Sorry, Christina couldn't make it, but you know what? Christina is on MSG. Christina is on Yahoo Sports. She like
Spotify.
You taught her at least 5% of what she knows. Just 5%, because I know she learned journalism on her own.
Yeah, she's a powerhouse when it comes to the W and everything that she's doing to really highlight women's sports and get the word out there that we need to be watching and we need to be actively engaged so that women athletes can get what they deserve. I mean, they're just as fierce competitors as male athletes, and they need to get what they deserve. They might even have a little bit more in their back because they have to also deal with the public eye in a different light. Like there's a lot of talk about how they look and how they behave and things of that nature. Not saying that doesn't come with male athletes, but it's definitely more highlighted with female athletes, what they're wearing, if they can model, all these different factors kind of go into play, and we're not focused as much as we should be on their athleticism.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm literally past the 4-year anniversary of my first episode of my podcast that I started as Nothing But That B-Ball Talk while being a student at Tony Dofet's LIU Brooklyn podcasting class. The transition, and saying Christina and Ari, they were literally like the first female special guests I've had on the show, and you managed, so you witnessed history in a way. So when you look back at the interview that I put together with my cousin and your two friends or so, what would you mind seeing it put together the way it was?
Honestly, I think everyone was at their like humble beginning, and it was great to just be there and watch it from start to finish, like behind the scenes. There's a lot of things people don't get to see Like us just kind of kicking it, getting together, making sure that there's a lot of behind the scenes shots, the questions, making sure the camera's rolling. I think at that time we forgot to turn on the camera. We're like full through questions. But those things are humble beginnings, and they're things we can't, like when we talk about it, I feel like it makes it easier for the newcomers to say, okay, so I've made mistakes, or I forgot to turn my camera on during a big interview. How do you roll through those punches? And everyone did it with grace. We just started shooting again, and we just had a good time. That was a good time.
Yeah, I know. And you know what? There were times where the camera was on, but it turns off like almost halfway through the interview. And I didn't, and you don't realize it so it was already over, and that's why I came to you asking, at what point did the camera turn off?
And you said, what was the last question you think? I think I had, because I was sitting there, I got to actually see the light go out. And I was like, wait, I think something's off here. But it was also, I was able to remember like your last question so you could go back to it. So one of the things that's kind of important if you're starting out is make sure you have a team. That way you have people having your back, because when the analysts, the media personalities are in their flow, that's where they need to be. They're not necessarily thinking about all the little things going on behind the camera. So it definitely was meant to be that I was there, because we were able to get right back to it. I was like, I think this was your last question, and it turned out it was. We got right back to it. It was a great interview.
Yeah, not to mention, well, you're like literally owning the business. Young hip professionals, where like young hip professionals, you will get to admit it. And Christina always did bust my chops about talking about, as you know, people. Oh, I remember Rafiq wasn't into the WNBA. And since that interview, I don't remember saying. I kind of have agreed with her on saying that, but to be fair, they're the first people that I talked to that's actually more invested in the WNBA, because I literally have little to no female friends that watches the product from like when I started watching it like in the 2000s when Diana Taurasi Zuber was a lot younger, and Tamika Catchett being the Indiana Fever, a playoff team now. They're in their rebuilding phase. Washington Mystics were just starting. Sylvia Fowles was literally a beginner in the WNBA, playing in the Chicago Sky. They only win like 2 or 3 games at most. They were horrendous, and you saw they managed to win a championship last season, becoming the buzzsaw that Ryan Walker alluded to when I've had interviews with him and ladies like Jackson Baker, and Shakira Foster-Bresby. And you know what? Interviewing Christina Nari opened my door to getting other people to come on the show, even though I was in the middle of my grad year in college, so I didn't get to do episodes as much as I'm doing right now. So you can see the growth from that point on. And now I've had Christine on the episode this time with her friend Grady Diaz. And well, you and her go to a lot of games. You've gone to a lot of WW related events. I see you attend to Just Women's Sports event. Like, why don't you talk about the experiences that you gained from attending Just Women's Sports and the couple of NBA, WNBA games you attended in your life?
So for me, now I'm going to be honest with you. I have not attended a WNBA game yet. I know, shocker. I have not been to a WNBA game. I am dying to go to a WNBA game. Now, I've been to a lot of like celebrity charity games, so I do get to see some of the WNBA players play, but I have not been to a WNBA game. But what I will say makes me want to go is now, I think I've had the privilege of getting to see the players when they're off, not when they're on the field, not when they're in the court, not when they're playing, but like when they're just chilling. And because I've gone to a lot of these events, and being that you just mentioned the Just Women's Sports event happened a couple weeks ago, and I got to meet some amazing players. A lot of players from the Liberty were there. Liz, I'm gonna mess up her last name.
Cambage.
Yeah, she was there. I got to dance on the sofa behind her, and you got Lisa Leslie. You just had like all of these profound athletes there, and I got to see them. And now I'm like, man, now I'm kind of like fangirled out, and I'm like, all right, now I know some of the players. I know who who I'm watching and what I want to look out for. Now I'm going to be fair too. It was the same way with the NBA. Like at first, I didn't start watching the NBA until I was much older. I want to say I was a teenager. And prior to that, it was because I found a player and I was interested in their story. And what I liked about the player is what drew me to watching the sport. So I think that's kind of how I've gotten into sports. It's like I learned about a player and I'm like, wow, this player is really cool. Or I have an experience hanging out with them or getting to know them. And it's like, oh, wow, they're really cool. I'm going to go watch their games. So for me, it's more of like, it's like a personal thing. I never had, like, I didn't grow up in a household that was focused on athletics. It was more focused on music. So that's more of where I would have my knowledge. But because I started to develop relationships with players or like their story and started to follow them, I kind of became a sports enthusiast. I have become a sports enthusiast.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I didn't start watching the NBA until I was 14, and I didn't start watching WNBA until I was 15. Until I was 14, almost 14. That was when I got into basketball like that. And so you're not alone.
I was about 14 too. Yeah, I was about 14.
You're not alone. I remember. I mean, I've been playing I started playing basketball video games at a younger age, but I had to actually know the sports just to know how to play it. I mean,
right.
I mean, and even my cousin Knox can tell you how slow I was at basketball prior to my first year watching until my freshman year in high school.
Wow.
I didn't go to my first NBA game up until the season opener for the 06-07 season when it was the Knicks.
Wow.
Dave Robinson ended on a buzzer beater.
Right. Yeah, that's like
both that time, and yeah, during those days, I mean, sadly, the games I did go to, they end up losing those games. It was that game. It was a game against the Philadelphia 76ers. Iguodala was kind of low-key. Philadelphia got stupid hot, but it wasn't enough. And then, of course, the top seed Detroit Pistons, they were down, turned around, and fell down again. Those were the only games I went through that first season. I started my second season watching the NBA. So I didn't go to my first game until like literally last year when we had a loss against the Atlanta Dream, courtesy of Courtney Williams, who was on the WNBA Finals team with the Connecticut Sun. Sucks, I know.
No, but you know what? It makes me feel like I'm not alone. I mean, I think I was 17 when I went to my first NBA game, and my brother took me to see the Kings versus the Knicks because I was a Mike Bibby fan. And I just remember being like, oh my, like that was such a big deal. And then kind of trying to make sure that I got to go to a game as often as possible. This year, in the last like 365 days, I've actually gone to the most NBA games I've ever been to in my life. And I've gotten to really enjoy my experience. I get, like I said, I get a different side of it. And I've had a great experience. So I'm excited now that I know some players in the WNBA to dive in the coming year, in the coming season.
Can we expect you to attend a WNBA game this season as a fan?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. We've already talked about it. It's happening. You know what? I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna make a video from the time I walk into the stadium until the time I leave. I'm gonna document my experience because that will be my first time. And you know what? Learning, getting that knowledge from Christina about the importance of being a spectator of women's sports and supporting women athletes has really just opened up my heart and mind to it. So I am going. Like, that's it. Once I say I'm going, I'm going.
All right, no problem. Now, let's talk about your business, Young Hip Professionals, and how it got started.
So Young Hip Professionals, Inc. is a nonprofit organization. It was originally started as I was a bartender and I used to bartend private parties. So it started out that way. I would be hired to bartend private parties and I would meet a lot of people, all walks of life. From a lot of the parties that I bartended were celebrity events. I did some for someone who worked at MSG for the Knicks. And so I would see a lot of the players, and I would bartend like parties for other celebrity gatherings. And I started to meet different people that were more behind the scenes, like managers, agents, media personalities, and things of that nature. And we started like connecting and hanging out and sharing resources. So it kind of pivoted into a networking group. From there, it kind of started to, like, the things that we were doing together. I was like, we have all these minds together. Let's do things together. Let's create events. Let's do things in the community to empower the community. And let's let other young people see what we're doing and how we're trying to get ahead. Because at the time, for a millennial or Gen Z person, well, at the time, really more focused on millennials, there wasn't a lot of opportunity with like jobs. And if you were creative, it was really hard to find a job. So you're literally like trying to find every little resource you can. And we were able to give them to each other and help build each other's brands. So when we started doing that, I wanted to do an event in my community. And the town said, absolutely not. You're not a nonprofit. And I said, well, what does that mean? And like, you're not going to let me do this because I'm not a nonprofit, even though I'm a community resident. I have a company, like I can show you where all the money goes, whatever. No, we're not going to let you do it. And it was actually a basketball skills camp for underprivileged youth in my community. And they said, absolutely not. So I went ahead and became a nonprofit. I think within 2 months, I already had my 501c3. Yeah, it was about 2 months. And I've been going ever since. And we've done a lot of work with housing, affordable housing, social justice reform, criminal justice reform. And these are important elements so that young people and people of color can do what they want to do and not be we don't want to be looked down upon. We're just as active, we're just as great as everybody else. And we want to have that freedom to explore career opportunities and get hired for jobs, especially in creative fields and especially in the arts and in sports and in journalism. So those are in fashion as well. We have an internship. We're actually part of FIT. So if you go to FIT and you want to intern with us, you absolutely can. And we just really kept going. It's been a crazy ride. It's been fun. It's been exciting. And I've seen a lot of people grow from what we've done.
Well, that's a lot to take in, because you have to go through rejections just to even be allowed to do events. I mean, how is that possible for somebody as amazing as you, Sam?
I was annoyed, when it happened. I was so annoyed that I was just like, nothing is gonna stop me. And I mean, they did stop me. I'm not gonna front like they didn't. They did stop me, but I decided that if ever the opportunity came around again, that wasn't going to be a hurdle. That wasn't going to be an issue. So I just went ahead and I honestly, that was a really rough time in my life. I had been in a really bad car accident. I wasn't working, and I used my last $1,000 to start my nonprofit that I had in my bank account. And over that time, it's done well over that. Like it's triple, double. But forget the amount of money that we've made. It's about what we've done, like the work that we've done and how impactful that has been and how meaningful that has been. And one of the things that I'm most proud of is even though it's not Christmas, is our toy drive, because that's when we showcase a lot of arts. We showcase a lot of art, we showcase artists, and people get time to connect. And then we take the toys and we literally hand deliver them to families that are in need. So that's probably like my biggest thing that I'm proud of that my organization does. And we do it every year.
Let me tell you something. When I was in LIU undergrad, I started a Black History Month events where I featured my professor, a student, and my boss from a website that I wrote for called daysummit.com. Mm-hmm. I started a panel. I put the panel together using my own brain and what I gained from from earlier Black History Month events during my time at school. So the fact that you got rejected before actually doing events the way you're doing it right now, you overcome that. You overcome that.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it was tough, but I did it, and I'm proud of myself, and I'm proud that we can keep going, and we haven't stopped, and we're gonna continue to go and do some events this summer. We have we're working on doing a speed dating event, getting some of these young hip professionals out there meeting people, because we just came out of a time period where we were kind of, like you said, cooped up alone. Like during COVID, we weren't able to connect and be around each other. So even if there's no relationships that come from it, it's just the fact that we're able to just kind of hang out and kick it and talk and meet new people. So that, that's something that we have getting ready to go on soon. Sorry, my cat's trying to make an appearance. I'm trying to like get her out of here.
Yeah.
She's like, I want to be on. She's like, I want to be on the show.
All right. Now, let's discuss your career path and how you got into doing the career path you're doing right now. Because you mentioned you got a background in marketing.
So I actually am a LIU grad as well. I have my master's in mental health counseling from Long Island University Post.
Brooklyn?
I know you went to Brooklyn. Yeah, I went to Post. And while I was working on my degree, I realized during internship, I didn't want to be a therapist, but I was already almost done with school. I was like, I don't want to do this. I was working at Sprint at the time in my last year, and I was like, none of this feels right. I actually got a job working in promotions, field marketing for Molson Coors, and I loved it. And I never looked back. And I just kind of moved up in the field in a short amount of time. And I started doing managing, I think, within like my second or third year in field marketing. So for someone who doesn't know, at that Just Women's sports event, there was a lot of that going on. There were companies there that had what we call like experiential marketing activation. So Dick's had like a basketball hoop there, and every time you scored a certain amount of points, you got a gift card to go to Dick's Sporting Goods. That actually helps bring them new consumers, new clients, and helps them keep their brand loyalty and build brand awareness. So I got really involved in that side of things, and I have just never looked back. I love what I do. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Doesn't mean I'm not going to do something else one day, but for right now, I really can't see anything else. So that's kind of really what I've been doing for the last, I think it's almost 7 years now.
Well, when you look back at all the struggles you mentioned, aside from what you already talked about, like, was there ever a thought that you ever consider rethinking the idea of going for the career path you was going for when you was in college?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I get too much joy out of what I do. And I'm not saying that, mental health counseling is a need. And I picked up skills that I do apply, like skills from my internship. One of the things that we had to do in my internship was we'd go to schools and we'd give out information to students about the internship program and what resources were there. I still do that. I just do that in marketing, and I do that with my charitable organization. So the skills that I got from it, they're still applicable to what I'm doing today on a daily basis. However, I'm not the type that can sit there and on a day in and day out basis deal with someone going through a really tough time. You have to have a really special constitution for that, and you have to be able to take that on and also remove yourself. And it takes a really special person to do it. I'm not saying that I can't do it, but I'm not interested in doing it. And but I'm still grateful for the education. I use it every day. You have to be able to read a consumer and understand what it is they want and need, and listen to them and my interns and all the people that I deal with. When I'm out in the field doing charitable work, I have to sit there and listen to the community and see what it is that they need. But it's not the same as having a client come into you every week. They sit on a chair and they just kind of let go of all of their issues or whatever. And you have to document that and keep up with that. That can get repetitive. I'm kind of encountering new things, new fresh things every time. So that I like what I do better now. I must say, I like what I do better now.
And I also like the fact that you're even doing your own show called That's Sam Law. Say my name, That's Sam Law. You came up with the rap, or somebody else came up with it for you?
So I have my management team, and I worked on that song together. I came up with the concept, and I've literally organized protests. And one of the biggest things that we chanted during the pandemic was "Say my name." That was unfortunate to have to say that, but when we were saying those people's name, it was people that passed. It was people that were living. Their dreams got cut short. Their families' dreams got cut short. And it led to this big movement. So what I'm saying is, I don't want people to say my name when I'm gone. I want them to say it now, understand who I am and what I'm about now, so that, you know, you protect me, because those people weren't protected. They weren't protected by the systems that were put in place to protect them. So if you are aware of a person's humanity now, and they're not a target, or they're not just a stereotype, you know, you're going to be mindful of them, you're going to protect them, you're going to look out for them. And that's what the show is really about. It's about bringing people on with interesting stories. We had a American Ninja Warrior competitor on there, so we go from athletes to business professionals, musicians, artists, like whatever you do, media personalities, whatever you do, we want people to understand your value. We want people to see how important you are, how special you are. And we want them to say your name now. We want them to give you your roses now. So that's really kind of like what the show is about. It's like interesting people, their story, what they're doing, how they might have gotten through a tough time, and how they overcame it to be who they are today. And that helps push on the younger generation and our generation.
Yeah, sometimes you get carried away.
Literally. Literally. That was actually pretty fun to do. One of my reels.
Yeah. So when you pick a special guest to come on the show, like what the ideal time? What do you think about when you want to recruit somebody to be a special guest on your show? That's Sam Law.
I think about how impactful their story is going to be to someone else. I think about the person that was sitting in the chair watching your show when you, Christina and Ari, and your brother shot it. I think about that person. Yes. And I think about what they want to hear, what they want to know, and how it might spark them to do something. Because seeing you guys sparked me. It was, you know how they say someone might plant a seed and someone else might come along and water it. Though that was part of the watering process, you know? And I think about who can we water, who can we nurture to get them to get off their laurels and go out there and go after their dreams or their goals, whatever it is. We want them to go after it. So I try to think about what type of guest would inspire someone to go for it. We had recently a young lady, her name's Izzy Potter. She's a singer. She kind of style is similar to like Taylor Swift, really young, 17 years old, been writing her own songs since like 7th grade. She's getting ready to go to college in Nashville. And I remember when I saw her saying, that girl's headed for Nashville. Right on my show, she tells me, oh, I'm getting ready to go to music school in Nashville. And I'm like, you know, there's another 17-year-old girl or guy or however they identify thinking the same thing. Like, I want to do that, but I don't know how to do it. Well, now Izzy tells you how she does it, what some of her roadblocks might be. You know, she talks about it, and it's literally someone that's your age that might look like you. That's going to motivate you to move because you see yourself in that person. So that's kind of what we look for when choosing a guest. Another thing is, did they overcome something difficult? Like, we've had 2 amputees that we invited on as guests. One who was an American Ninja Warrior, and then we have and they, you know, they hurt themselves in an accident. And then we have an amputee that had lived a life. He didn't live the best life that he could have. You know, he chose a path that wasn't healthy for him, and he ended up getting hurt and doing jail time. And he talks about these things on the show. And then he talks about why it's not worth it and how he had to change his life and what factors led to him changing his life. So these are stories like people need to hear. They need to see the people that look like them, everyday people doing extraordinary things and making it, succeeding in this dog eat dog world. They're succeeding.
Wow. I know you, and I know that took a lot of ideas in order to make the show the way it is right now. And well, I know it's probably like one of the first type of media projects that you ever done. Like, what do you love about doing the media work that you do outside of what you're doing in your career?
So one of the things, I had actually started doing media work during the pandemic because we couldn't connect. So when I wanted to talk to different guests, and we couldn't have meetings, we couldn't go have like, you know, a panel discussion in a room somewhere and invite people to come. I would have virtual panel discussions with like politicians, business owners, just so people could stay connected to resources and try and thrive at a time where it was just difficult. I don't even have a word to describe what we went through, because I don't think we really processed what we've gone through. We kind of just pushed ahead. And as I started out, you know, I started out real basic, and then I had to learn other skills. Actually, you know what? I'm lying. I'm going to take it a step before that. When I started my charitable organization, I did not have a camera person. I did not have a photographer. I couldn't afford it. So I had to learn how to use a professional camera on my own and video edit on my own. That was my first step. I started with Filmora. I now know how to use Final Cut. Sorry, did I lose you? I now know how to use like Final Cut and stuff. And that was my first kind of foray into doing production. And I was like, all right, I can do this. I'm still not the best, but I was like, all right, I can do this. If I need to do it, I can do it, and it's accomplished. And I had to learn how to take pictures and lighting and different things that I taught myself. Then when the pandemic hit a few months later, I was like, man, well, how are we going to stay connected? So I started having virtual panel discussions, and I would use those editing skills. Some people, I would do the virtual panel live through either Zoom or there was another app, StreamYard. I would use StreamYard. And then some people I would interview, like pre-record it, then edit it and add the questions in so people could kind of watch it more casually. And we'd interview, like we'd highlight a person of the month. We call them the Young Hip Professionals Influencer of the Month. And that's kind of how that started. So the next step was like, all right, well, we did this during the pandemic. It worked. We did really well with views. I can't lie, humble beginnings, but we did well with our views. And I got connected with a production company called 726. The owner is a good friend of mine. And he's actually my boyfriend, to be honest. And he wasn't my boyfriend at the time. We were just friends. And he was like, you ever think about doing a talk show? And I was like, no. He was like, why not? You know, you have this big personality. You already kind of know how to navigate those things. I have a background in acting. I have a background in modeling, in theater. And he said, why don't you just kind of put it all together? Then everybody can see you all at once, and they can see like what you're into, and you can still talk to the people and spread awareness about resources in business. And I was against it at first. I didn't want to do it. We shot a couple episodes. I was like, I'm over this. I don't want to do this. And he kept like pushing me. And then finally he was like, I had shoulder surgery in January. And he said, listen, after you recover, we're going to go to the studio and we're going to shoot the rest of this season. I'm going to get it edited and we're going to put it out and we're going to see how it does. And we literally, for 2 Fridays in a row, shot 3 to 4 episodes back to back to back. And it was intense. But you know what I realized? That I loved it. I realized that
I went to school for that, let's be honest.
Yeah, I think about that all the time. I literally think about that all the time.
But don't worry, there's always grad school.
And see, I already have my master's. I have no desire.
Don't worry, there's always a
school.
PhD.
You're taking all my excuses away. Maybe I'll do a certificate program, something short, and see how I feel.
All right, okay, whatever. So, yeah, as everything was going on, you put together all these young hip professional virtual panels. I mean, I know you had to talk about all the tragic stuff that was going on, because 2020 was literally the year of tragedy. From Kobe Bryant passed away, the air Holocaust, to all the people that were killed during COVID, to George Floyd who were getting bodied, and then on
Breonna Taylor.
It was just the year of horrificness. It's too much horrific. Have you ever had a chance to attend at least a couple protests during those dark times?
I organized. I helped organize the Juneteenth march.
What was the process of organizing all those protests and stuff, all those protests during what was literally a dark time where there was no sports going on, to the point where even athletes want to get involved?
It wasn't difficult. I'm not gonna say it was difficult because people were so eager to like have their voice heard and have, and be a part of the movement and get that change that they wanted to see. But there's a lot of things that people don't know. Like there's obviously the protesting, going out in the streets and yelling and marching and all of that's important.
All over New York City.
Right. Well, minus the looting. But I mean, listen, people got to address the situation how they have to address it. We didn't loot or do anything like that. We stuck to marching. It's multifaceted. You have to have a team. You can't do it by yourself. You have to have people there that are willing to get in the dirt with you and get in the mud with you. You have to have people that are willing to bring water and chips, and make sure you have a megaphone. You gotta listen, if you don't have the megaphone, I don't know what you're doing. You have to plan a route. You have to be aware that the cops might come and bother you because you're not doing this. Like, you shouldn't be planning this protest along with the police. It's not going to be impactful. So you got to be prepared. You got to be prepared that it might get violent. It might, you hope to God it doesn't, but it could. You don't know what you're facing, but you got to go there fearlessly. The other thing is you have to be prepared when the marches stop to get down and do the work. Get involved with a coalition. I call it like 5-minute activism. Create a petition, sign a petition. Send a letter to your government agents from the local to the federal. Make some phone calls. Vote. Talk to the politicians about what you need. Actually go to the meetings. There's a lot of things you can do to stay involved, and you have to do them because that's the stuff that changes the laws. It's like getting the marching going shakes them up and makes the government aware. But you also have to get involved in changing the laws. And if you don't want to get that involved, where you're sitting on meetings all day and you're in a coalition and you're going to this meeting, that meeting, whether virtually or in person, then do the 5-minute activism. Make a phone call to your government agents. Support a charity that, spend $5 or $1 supporting a charity or an organization that does the work on your behalf. Create a petition, sign a petition. Those things don't take a lot of time. They take about as much time as watching a TikTok video. So those are things that you can do to keep the work going because it hasn't stopped. I know in Long Island where I am, and in New York in general, we've had 3 major pieces of legislation changes. We've had bail reform, we've had the decriminalization of marijuana, and we've had some changes that were mandated by former Governor Cuomo for the police. Like right now, our officers are getting body cams in Nassau and Suffolk County on Long Island. And this is because of our voices. This is because of our hard work. And this is because people supporting the people that are out there in the mud doing the hard work. Everyone counts. Everyone counts.
Yeah, we all have to do our part to make sure that they hear our voices. And I don't know what you're going to do when Juneteenth comes around this year, but I know this is obviously going to be something special. And I know you got some kind of video game tournament going on next month, and of course, well, throughout the years, I've seen you also done a lot of Long Island and celebrity is showdown events that features guys like Floyd Mayweather and well. Can you elaborate on that, Celebrity Showdown?
So this is what I mean. When I started, these are like the little things that kind of go into my history. It's how I met Christina. I was bartending a lot of those events at first. And then I became a sponsor. And then I ended up doing the media, and I've just stayed connected with that organization. And I've watched them from humble beginnings, start these events. And their main focus is, cancer awareness and youth with cancer, and just seeing how they can get so many people united for a cause. I mean, it's a big deal what Floyd Mayweather is doing with 1-800-Liquors, and I'm glad to be able to be supportive and be a part of it. And I'm grateful for the friendships that I've made and the resources that I've gathered, and them just like being supportive of me, from going as the girl that was a bartender to then doing the media. And who knows what's next? Being a sponsor, doing the media, who knows what's next? But they're doing a lot. Like they're all over the country. I tend to stay in my I like to travel for fun, and I tend to stay in my own backyard when it comes to doing activism. But they're all over the country doing things, and it's just getting bigger and bigger, and it's exciting. With the gaming league, I got involved in that right away. That the person who runs the gaming league, Dennis Buchanan, and his friend Mitchell Bacchus, they actually helped me create my nonprofit organization. So when they mentioned the gaming league to me, it was a no-brainer, and I started doing stuff with them right away, and that's evolved. It went from having charity events with them to now hosting and being a sponsor, and just them sponsoring my show, and just pushing each other, continuously pushing each other forward. It takes a team. It takes a team of people that'll support you. They're your family. You have the family that you're given, and then you have the family that you create, and they're the part of the family that I create to help push these things forward. I mean, esports is a booming industry. It's a major
doubt
industry.
about it, especially the 2K.
Major.
Seriously.
Yes. And that's actually one of our focuses there is the 2K League. We kind of were like, listen, they had a lot of games that fighting games, Super Smash Brothers, but we were like, where's the 2K? You're missing out on a demographic.
2K,
and they were like, you're right, let's get that demographic in here.
For a sports head. I mean, I play 2K all the time too. I mean, I took a break from it, but I'm gonna get back to it soon. So stay tuned.
Yeah, no, you gotta have 2K. So this last event that we did on April 15th, we made sure that 2K was rocking and rolling, and people were playing nonstop. We had a great time. Prizes were given away. And we just this is the premier gaming league on Long Island, and we just brought more awareness to it. And I'm just blessed to be a part of it. I'm grateful for all the doors that have been opened to me and the people that have received me with open arms. I'm just grateful.
Yeah, I know. It's just so much that you've done. I mean, I gotta say, you're doing a phenomenal job in everything you do for your community.
Thank you.
And trying to make sure that you get a lot of not just Long Island New Yorkers, but New Yorkers in general to get invested in the work that you do not only as a media person, but as an event planner or marketing, pretty much being the director and all the amazing nuggets that you picked up throughout your entire career ever since you graduated LIU Post. So
yeah, it's been a journey. When I graduated Post, my dad died like a month later. And that was horrific. To be honest with you, I didn't know how I was going to pick up the pieces. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And literally, I was sitting on my sofa and I heard young hip professionals. I was like, what the heck does that mean? Well, today it means a lot. At that time, I didn't understand it. A few months, I want to say that was in June of 2016, like a few weeks after my dad died. I just those three words came to me, young hip professionals. And I was like, okay. And I ran with that title. I went to, when I was working in marketing for the beer industry, I was working with a young lady and she was telling me she was doing commercials. And I was going to give the information to someone else, which I did do. But I also went to the agent that she told me to go to. And when I sat down with my agent, who's still my agent today, Hampton Models, she said to me, wow, you're so young and you're so hip and you're so professional. And I said, oh, it's the thing. And I never let that go. So when I think about what that meant in 2016, when I didn't even know what it was just a figment of my imagination, to today it being a fully fleshed out nonprofit corporation, it blows my mind. And I'm grateful to God for just planting that whisper, just whispering that in my ear and seeing what it's becoming. I'm just grateful for whatever doors he opens, all the amazing people he introduced me to, like yourself, and you guys just receiving me. I really appreciate it. I really, truly do.
Yeah, but you should definitely try to get more sports athletes and media professionals on the show since Christina knows.
Absolutely.
And while we're on the subject of sports, I mean, if you've been following the NBA playoffs, you got Joel Embiid hitting the best shot of his NBA playoff career, literally avenging. Literally the first playoff game in Toronto, avenging the late second loss against the Raptors, courtesy of a Kawhi Leonard buzzer beater in Game 7, like 3 years back. You have the Minnesota Timberwolves, who's currently smoking the Memphis Grizzlies right now. They're up 2-1.
Yep.
That's just to give you a little live update on this episode. the Brooklyn Nets down to nothing. We don't know if they're going to turn it around, or was it just going to be an easy, or is this going to be a reversal of what the Nets went through when they took out the Celtics last year? So, yeah, not to mention the Pelicans, they grabbed game 2, and they might be the buzz, as Ryan Walker always alluded to, they might be the buzzsaw. You might get a buzzsaw in this year's NBA playoffs, you might. But if you're following basketball, I want to get your impressions on everything that's been going on.
So right now, I've had the pleasure of going to a Nets game, and I'm hoping to go to a playoffs game real soon. I gotta say, seeing Kyrie come back after that long hiatus that was forced on him, I kind of want to see the Nets in the championship. I really do. I think that would be great to like bring that to New York. I mean, that's my home, so I just want to see the Nets go off. Like we have some of our own homegrown players. We got Andre Drummond. It's just like watching them all play. The last game I went to, they were dunking on folks. It was nice. It was great. I actually can't wait to get into the game tonight.
Tonight educate you on basketball.
No, I appreciate the education on basketball. I needed it, and now I love it. I love the sport.
Yeah, I mean, at least you got to go to a couple of Nets games during your time. I mean, like, do you ever have a chance to actually sit down and watch it to the point where you can analyze it the next time you come on the show?
I'm getting better. So I've been watching a lot of Knicks games, a lot, and I can't say that I don't have a team yet. I'm leaning towards the Nets. I'm not gonna lie. I'm leaning towards the Nets. I like the energy at the game. I like the family camaraderie.
They had the Long Island Nets playing down there, so you should have checked it out.
Right. And then that's true. And then you also have, if you're a Mets fan, you're a Nets fan, you're a Jets fan. So I'm like, that might be where I go with it. But I think if you give me to the next playoffs, I might be able to like come back really strong with some analysis and some details. I'm starting to like learn the history of the team, the history of the players. I'm actually starting to really pay attention, and I'm like getting excited about like who's playing. I was able to name like 5 players on the Knicks. I don't know if I could do that at this moment, but it was like amazing. I was like, yeah, like watching RJ Barrett. We got Fournier. I couldn't believe like Obi Top. I was like, oh my God, I know all their names. What's going on? Like a year or two ago, that would not have been the case. But Randall, who am I missing? Fournier, Barrett, Randall, Toppin. Oh, we got somebody else. Rose, right? Is that 5 players?
Yeah.
So I'm learning. So I gotta say, I have been watching the Knicks for the most part, but now it's time for me to branch off and get my own independence in this. Fun fact, when I was in college, I was a Magic fan because I was a Dwight Howard fan. But that's kind of changed over the years.
Yeah. Well, when Dwight Howard's playing, that was a Magic fan. Well, that's very interesting to know because that time Dwight Howard was a dominant player, being Defensive Player of the Year. He's been to the finals playing against Kobe Bryant's Lakers. May God rest his soul. So he made the Magic a championship contender.
I remember like literally watching the championships, and he was playing, and they got knocked out, but still.
You're going up against Kobe Bryant.
That's what I did for my birthday. Yeah, it was a wrap. But that's what I did for my birthday one year. I think it was my 22nd birthday. So I'm dating myself. I should not be saying my age so much. But I'm glad I got to have that experience, or even have a favorite player that I actually like would watch the games and be like, yeah, he's gonna play, I'm gonna watch, So now I don't have a favorite player. Now I'm focused on the team, like really building a team that I like, focusing on the team that I like. So it's up between the Nets or the Knicks. We'll see how it goes. Next year, I'm gonna have an answer for you.
All right, that's pretty good to know. But yeah, it's gonna take some time to actually pick a favorite team. I mean, I knew for sure I wanted to be a Knicks fan, but the minute I started watching it, and I kind of started moving. I didn't really get much into the Nets like that outside the Kid and Carter era up until they came to Brooklyn. So I'm kind of ping-ponging between. I kind of want to support both New York teams, but everybody keeps saying don't root for one New York team. You can only have one favorite team. I'm tired of hearing that. Anyway.
I've noticed over the years, it's more about players than it is about the team. Because you're a player, you know, if you have a favorite player, they might go all over the nation. You don't know where they're going to be from moment to moment. So
Exactly.
I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair at all.
Exactly. Like I didn't really care.
You know what makes you happy.
Yeah, exactly. Like I didn't really care for LIU Brooklyn like that. We Brooklyn's basketball teams like that. So I became cool with this guy named Raekwon Clark. And I only became an LIU fan through him. So I really go on from even when he was playing in the NCAA tournament in 2018. And I only became a Florida fan because I was actually a student at the school. I did play my play demos at that school. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
You got me on college basketball. I have no idea what's going on there.
You need to educate yourself. Don't worry. The next time you come on the show, me, Ryan, and Christina and I will educate you. I promise.
I'm ready.
Well, that'll wrap up this episode. Nothing but that sports talk. Thank you for stopping by, Sam Law.
Thank you for having me.
And to all the balls out there, you know what? Instead of just ending it with get you in the game, I'm just gonna end it with your intro.
Say my name, that's Sam Law. Hear myself when I hear y'all talk. See my kicks when I see y'all walk. Flex on me, y'all ain't strong. Say my name, that's Sam Law. Still on top, yeah, it's been that long. They won't know till I say I'm gone. They won't know, say my name.